or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Erin, and for the next hour, I will be reading from the March 19th, 2026 issue of the East Aurora Advertiser on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The first article is Village Allocates Funds for Tree Maintenance in Hamlin Park by Sean Cunningham. Hazardous trees and general tree maintenance in Hamlin Park was unanimously authorized by the Village Board at the March 16th meeting. The board allocated $60,000 from the appropriated fund balance for the tree care, which is scheduled to take place when the weather breaks. The work will be performed by Village arborist Jared Weber and Bradley Tree and Landscaping, Inc., located in Holland. Department of Public Works General Foreman Jeff Stoll said that he would like the work to start as soon as the weather breaks and it is dry enough to get into the park without creating a further mess. Stoll said he wants the project to be wrapped up quickly before the park starts to see a lot of activity in late spring and summer. According to the proposal provided by the tree care company, $45,000 will be allocated for 2 weeks of pruning that was recommended for the 170 trees in Hamlin Park that were evaluated in March 2025. The work will consist of 3 men and 2 aerial lifts, which will be on site for 8 hours per day, 5 days a week. The cleanup of brush and debris will be completed by DPW employees. An additional $15,000 will be allocated for the root collar excavation of 20 trees in the park with an air spade. This process will expose the roots and the base of the tree, as well as decompaction of the soil and replacing it after excavation. Additional corrective action may include the removal of girdling roots and can choke the trees and/or replacing the existing soil with composted organic material. A tree maintenance program was discussed by Stoll. The village really has never had a maintenance program on these young trees that we plant, Stoll said. Stoll said the training would include root collaring and proper mulching, and it would be provided by Weber. Stoll said that trees planted in the last 2 years would be the focus of this program, but he would like to look at least 5 years' worth of trees that have been planted by the village. Weber said normally 2-year-old trees will only take 5 to 10 minutes to perform maintenance, and it helps so much, Stoll said. Stoll said that the maintenance on newly planted trees would be planned annually in April and May. Tree Board Chair Jesse Griffiths requested a line item in the budget to be included specifically for regular tree maintenance in the park. Resident Holly Majewski asked if the board had finalized an agreement with NYSEG regarding their tree maintenance operations in the village. Village Administrator Shane Krieger said that there had not been a meeting between village officials and NYSEG representatives since November 2025. There is a phone call tentatively scheduled between the 2 parties for March 23rd, according to Krieger. Massajuski also asked if there had been any discussion regarding financial restitution from NYSEG for damage incurred during the last round of tree pruning in the village's right-of-way, specifically for Go Net Speed's fiber optic cable installation. Krieger said the village had not heard anything final about this. The village board will meet for a work session with public comment to discuss the village's comprehensive plan at 6 p.m. Monday, March 30th on the 2nd floor of the Aurora Municipal Center on Oakwood Avenue. The village will hold a regular meeting at 7 p.m. Monday, April 6th, at which point a public hearing will be held to discuss the 2026-2027 plan, village budget, and capital plan. The next article will be Village Board discusses the Globe Hotel, business that has been closed since 2022, by Shelley Ferrollo. Concerns about the vacant Globe Hotel on Main Street were discussed at a recent board meeting in East Aurora. This item was not on the agenda for discussion. The conversation was sparked following comments from the public following the board's decision to postpone designating the Henry Knox Mansion at the Stonegate condominium complex on Bowen Road a local landmark. The Henry Knox Mansion is the 120-year-old Italian Renaissance Revival style original structure at the Stonegate condominium community. In recent months, the president of the board of the Condominium Owners Association proposed demolition of the building to make room for new condominium units. The rationale for demolition is the need for extensive repairs and maintenance to the mansion. That cost of repairs would be substantial and would be borne by the members of the COA. Members of the Historic Preservation Commission have been advocating to save the building and designate it as a local landmark. The fate of the building has been on several meeting agendas in 2025 and 2026, including on Monday, March 2nd. The board decided to revisit the decision in 6 months. Several members said they would like to see the building preserved, and they hope the extra time will give the condominium owners time to research grants to make necessary repairs. I don't mind pushing this down the road, Trustee Steve Lazica said. Preserving the building had to be a unanimous vote at Stonegate, and it wasn't even close. It's a moot issue at this point until neglect happens. I am a proponent of preserving it, but not by our choice. The motion on the agenda was to designate it as a local landmark. No board member voted in favor of the motion. During the second public comment period, HPC chairperson Mary Ann Colopy said she was disappointed in the vote. She said that 17 out of 87 people at Stonegate voted for the demolition of the mansion, and more than half did not respond to the Board of Managers survey. Instead of being proactive, we are laying back and not doing anything, she said. Her husband, Kurt Colopy, asked about other landmarks that need attention to prevent demolition, such as the Alexis Fournier properties on Walnut Street near the Roycroft campus, which are national landmarks. The village has sought legal intervention several times for these properties, most recently in 2025. He then brought up the Globe on Main Street, which has been closed since 2022 and is in the process of foreclosure. Before it closed, it was the longest operating business on Main Street. It opened in 1824. You are a year or two away from losing it, Kurt Colopy said. What in the hell are you doing about it? Nobody on the board knows the current condition of the inside of the building. Mayor Peter Mercurio said that he spoke to a realtor who required hard hats during the walkthrough. He said clients interested in the building also had to sign a release. Building Inspector Elizabeth Cassidy said she cannot enter the building for an inspection without a court order. Then let's get a court order, Trustee Ernie Shear said. I was walking by there today. I have been told there are leaks, mold, foundation issues, and buyers don't want to get involved. Shear said that the Globe is important to Main Street, but its appearance is hurting East Aurora. The mold on the siding is disgusting, he said. I requested that the weeds along the foundation be weed whacked during the Taste of East Aurora last year. Cassidy said she has asked several times to see the inside of the structure, and she has not received a response. If the roof is leaking, then there are emergency measures that would need to be put into place, Cassidy said. But the property owner, who is in the process of foreclosure, isn't going to do anything, and neither is the bank. That's been my experience with other banks. Deputy Attorney Joseph Trapp said that there are circumstances where banks do cooperate. It might be worth reaching out to the bank if there is an issue with building stability, Trapp said. It's very standard for banks to ask judges to put these types of properties into receivership to preserve them to the end of the process. There, the bank lawyer might do this. Your local court cannot stabilize the building. You have to go to a higher level court. The facts need to be made on the record, and the owners need time to address them. I'm happy to call the bank's attorneys as we commence the process. Perhaps then they will take action. Trustee Molly Flynn asked if there was a downside to this course of action. I don't see a downside with the phone call, Trapp said. Mercurio asked Trapp to work on the next steps with Village Administrator Shane Krieger. The next article is electronic pickup in the village. The Department of Public Works will be collecting electronics in the village of East Aurora from April 20th to the 24th. Residents are asked to place electronics out with garbage, but in a separate pile. The Department of Public Works will be around to collect the unwanted items. My next article is Annual Burn Barn in Effect. The annual statewide ban prohibiting residential brush burning begins March 16th and runs through May 14th. Since 2009, the New York State Environment of Environmental Conservation, or the DEC, has enforced the annual brush burning ban to prevent wildfires and protect communities and first responders during heightened conditions for wildfires. Even though some areas of the state are damp or remain blanketed in snow, warming temperatures can quickly cause wildfire conditions to arise. Open burning of debris is the single largest cause of spring wildfires in New York State. When temperatures warm in the past fall's debris and leaves dry out, wildfires can start and spread easily, further fueled by winds and a lack of green vegetation. Each year, DEC forest rangers extinguish dozens of wildfires that burn hundreds of acres. In addition, local fire departments, many of which are staffed by volunteers, all too often must leave their jobs and families to respond to wildfires caused by illegal debris fires. New York first enacted strict restrictions on open burning in 2009 to help prevent wildfires and reduce air pollution. The regulations allow residential brush fires in towns with fewer than 20,000 residents during most of the year, but prohibit such burning in spring when most wildfires occur. Backyard fire pits and campfires less than 3 feet in height and 4 feet in length, width, or diameter are allowed, as are small cooking fires. Only charcoal or dry, clean, untreated, or unpainted wood can be burned. People should never leave these fires unattended and must extinguish them. Burning garbage or leaves is prohibited in New York State year-round. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the East Aurora Advertiser on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. My next article is East Aurora Art Society receives watercolor presentation. Local professional watercolor artist Nancy Peterson presented at last Thursday's East Aurora Art Society meeting. Peterson's interactive creative textures and watercolor painting program provided an opportunity for members of the audience to experiment with the relaxed and abstract painting style, bright colors, and watercolor or paint applications using some or all of her tips. EAAS welcomes all artists from beginner to advanced and supporters of the arts. Meetings are held on the second Thursday, September through June. The meeting room opens at 6:30 p.m. in the Aurora Senior Center, 101 King Street in East Aurora. A meeting will take place at 7 p.m., followed by the demonstration. Light refreshments are provided by the EAAS Hospitality Committee, and a treasure table has used art materials and art books to browse for resale. Monthly meetings are open to the public, and parking is free at the rear of the building. In the event of extreme weather conditions, the Senior Center follows the East Aurora Union Free School District's closing. For more information, visit eartsociety.weebly.com. My next article is East Auroran Coaches U.S. Olympic Aerials Team to Gold Medal by Rick Oler. If you watched any of the Olympic freestyle skiing on TV last month, you know that the U.S. Mixed Aerials Team won the gold medal with 3 soaring jumps in the finals. What you might not have known is that the fellow standing behind each U.S. jumper in the start gate at the top of the hill providing last-minute instructions and encouragement was East Auroran Matt DePeters. DePeters, a member of the 2010 U.S. freestyle team, serves as the team's aerial competition top coach now. The last coach each jumper talks to before heading down the hill at 60 plus kilometers per hour to perform as many as 3 flips and 4 twists in the air, 50 to 60 feet off the ground. Now back home with his family, wife Vanessa Frost of Muse Jar fame and son Marlo, age 4, he took a minute to catch up with me about his aerial and coaching adventures. DePeters started freestyle skiing at Buffalo Ski Club in Colden when he was 9 years old. His dad, Mark DePeters, started a freestyle program there in 1997 with very basic jumps, fashioned mostly with shovels, old school. Much different from the sophisticated freestyle program there now with ramps and airbags for landing. From there, it was a fast track to the top. He gave me the bullet point timeline. I made my first East Coast championship when I was 11 at Waterville Valley in New Hampshire. I had my first international competition in Canada when I was on a NORAM tour. I was 15. At 17, I was on the junior national ski team and then the U.S. ski team at 19. Then came 5 years on the World Cup circuit. DePeters had the honor of representing the U.S. in the 2010 Olympics at Vancouver, coming in 17th in the aerials before retiring at 24 years old after an injury in Belarus. While there is a certain glamorous element to the World Cup circuit, traveling the globe to ski any place that has snow, natural or man-made, and meeting all kinds of people, it's still work. It's a year-round commitment, competing, training. He said, and to a certain extent, the U.S. ski team takes care of us, but I always worked. I worked at a high-end ski boot shop in Park City, Utah, U.S. ski team headquarters. Then in the summertime after training, I would coach. You know, week-long camps or day camps. I had a few sponsors, but I still had to work. DePeters had been out of the international freestyle skiing world for a while when his old friend Vlad Lebedev, whom he'd known when they were young jumpers in Lake Placid and had ascended to the team's head coach, asked him if he had wanted to be a top coach. As a top coach, he explained, I'm in the gate with the athlete. My job is 65% speed, setting the jumper up to get the correct amount of speed so that they can pull off the flips and twists in their jump, and making sure the athlete starts from the right position, either takes a step up or takes a step down to achieve the speed that we're looking for. Then I'm watching the wind because obviously wind will affect speed, whether it's a headwind, a tailwind, a hurting or helping crosswind. I'm watching snow temperatures. I have a thermometer and I'll stick it in the snow once an hour just to see if there's been any fluctuation, what the sun has done to the snow. Because snow that's been beaten by the sun is slow, or if the shade has come in, I judge how much it's cooled down and how much it's quickened up. You know, I watch jumpers from other countries. There's a speed trap that everybody goes through, and then there's a clock that's on the building and it reads out their speeds down to the 1/100th of a kilometer per hour. What you're doing, big triple flips, you're hitting the jump anywhere from 64 to 67 kilometers an hour. There's also an element of getting the skier mentally ready for the jump, making sure that they are set in their mind and the body ready to go for it. Vlad Lebedev wanted to hire me full-time, but moving the family to Park City, that wasn't going to work. We came up with my situation now where I'm with the ski team in the winter. I meet up with them in November and work through March, and then I come home and work a construction gig. This year I left East Aurora on October 25th. I went to Australia for 2.5 weeks. They have one of the best summer training facilities in the world, and it's in Brisbane called the Sleeman Sports Complex. We went there and water ramped, where you ski down a ramp, execute your jump with its flips and twists, and land in a pool for summer training. From there, we went to Finland, a little town called Ruka. It's honestly about the size of Holiday Valley, about 40 miles from the Arctic Circle. It's always dark, it's always cold, and you're guaranteed training. They don't get a lot of natural snow, but they make snow. They have really clean frozen lakes everywhere, and they just make snow like crazy. then China for 8 days before I came home for Christmas. It was tough being away from the family, but they come up to Lake Placid before the Olympics, and they came to Cortina to watch the Olympics. Last year we had the World Championships in St. Moritz, so they came over to St. Moritz, and then we went over to Austria. My little guy is already skiing the mountains in Europe, so there are some benefits. To Peter's credit, having a family close by is a major reason we can continue coaching. We wouldn't be able to make this work without the family support we have here. Vanessa is so busy with Muse Jar and all her projects. I bought my grandparents' house just outside the village a few years ago. My mom just retired and she lives right next door. My brother Jake and his family live close by too. And of course, Matt married into a townie family, the Frosts. Gary and Andrea, like daughter Vanessa, both EA grads, both stalwarts in the ongoing turtle soup feed, which turned 50 years old in October. They have been just great to Peter knows that he and Vanessa will help carry the turtle soup tradition forward. How long Peter's coaching gig will last is up in the air, so to speak, but he can savor the immense satisfaction of being the last team member to speak with mixed aerialists Kyla, Kuhn, Connor, Curran, and Christopher Lillis on their way to a twisting, flipping gold medal performance. My next article is St. Jude Walk at EAHS will raise funds for cancer patients and families by Rick Oler. Buoyed by the success of last year's East Aurora High School St. Jude's Walk, which raised $6,200 for young cancer patients and their families, Senior Aidan Fry has organized a repeat performance. The second St. Jude Walk will take place on March 31st on the East Aurora High School track and at East Aurora Middle School. The first walk came about when Fry was looking for a way to honor the memory of his mother, Melissa Ann Perork, who passed away from cancer 2 years ago. After much research, Fry told me he settled on the St. Jude organization because I decided that instead of donating money to cancer research, which obviously is very important, I would donate to cancer patients and their families who are struggling. On the 31st at 2 p.m., high school students who have raised at least $50 will walk the track together as a show of support for St. Jude patients and families. At the middle school, students will walk the legendary Alba Palmer Trail through the neighborhood adjacent to the school. Those events, however, are just the celebratory finals of Fry's effort. I've been busy the last few weeks, Fry said, talking with administrators across the district, including Mr. Roberts, the high school principal. I've been working with Mr. Heisner, the faculty advisor, and the student government members to organize things. The walk is part of Spirit Days at the schools. Friday, March 27th is Sports Day, where you wear your favorite sports gear to school. Monday, March 30th is Hat Day. Tuesday, March 31st is Red and White Day. Those are the colors of St. Jude, so that will get people excited about the walk. The faculty were great last year, donating on Dress Down Fridays. That's happening again. We'll have shortened periods on Red and White Day, and 8th period will be set aside for the walk. Although last year's total set a high bar, Fry is confident we can top the number in this year's walk. We have flyers up through the buildings in the district. We have the walk posted on the school website right now, and then I've also reached out to a couple of the teachers from different buildings to start some dress down days to generate donations. Fry encourages the public to get involved and use a QR code to donate or contact Fry directly at aidanfrey3@icloud.com. Editorial: Exploring the idea of expanding local government. During the candidates forum that was held last week at the Senior Center, there are a lot of answers expressing a desire to take care of and maintain trees. It might be worthwhile for the town and village to share the expense of a forestry department, similar to what the town of Amherst and city of Syracuse have, but at a size that meets the needs for our community. The forestry division within the Amherst Parks Department is responsible for removing diseased or dead trees, trimming town trees in the right-of-way, and ordering the planting of new trees to replace what was removed. This town has been a tree city community for over 25 years, much like East Aurora. This department would have similar responsibilities and it would need at least 2 people on 1 truck, plus equipment needed to maintain the trees. The laborers would work nearly 40 hours a week maintaining and trimming trees on municipal properties such as parks and along this right-of-way on streets and roads from April to October of each year. Then, as necessary, following a seasonal storm, they can become trained and certified after they are hired. Needless to say, the team would be very busy following last weekend's weather event. A dispatcher at the police department said that hundreds of trees fell throughout the 6 towns in the call area, rerouting traffic, knocking out electric and internet lines, and causing property damage. Parents falling asleep listening to whistling winds Sunday night wondered if falling trees would prevent their children from attending school the next day. After a couple of years with a dedicated team to maintain trees, damage that occurs from fallen trees and branches after a storm would begin to slow down. Our trees would be healthier with all of the dead weight routinely taken off. The forestry department can also keep a running log to alert NYSEG when problems arise with trees in its jurisdiction. Keeping a tallied record will establish liability in the future if the utility company does not maintain the trees as they say they are going to do now. Some candidates on the stage that night might have shut down a suggestion like this, citing the importance of keeping taxes low. However, we don't hear from residents that the village needs to cut back. We only hear that the school district needs to cut back. And we must note that our tax rolls are high because of the East Aurora Union Free School District, not because of the village. If anything, we hear that village residents want more from their government. With the new administration in place, perhaps this is the time to begin offering more of what the residents want. The next article, Iroquois SRO reports less students are vaping. Report follows national trend by Shelley Ferrullo. In 2024, the Food and Drug Administration released a survey about tobacco use among students in middle school and high school that cited a downward trend. It also said that less students are reporting using electronic cigarettes with liquid tobacco, also known as vapes. In 2023, a little over 2 million students reported using vape, and in 2024, the number was down to 1.63 million nationwide. During a school board meeting on Wednesday, March 11th, Iroquois School Resource Officer Chad Berry said he has also seen a decline in students vaping. Vaping is still a problem at Iroquois High School, but I think it's getting better, he said. Berry said that each bathroom at Iroquois High School has a sensor that can detect chemicals in the air that are released when a student vapes. The sensors alert Berry and others by sending a message to email and phones about where vaping is detected. Berry then looks at footage on camera throughout the school to see who is entering and exiting the bathroom under question. He confronts students when he is certain that they are the ones who are vaping. If there is an error of doubt, we don't pull them out of class or pull them aside, he said. We go back and review until we are sure. Berry said there was a time when he was receiving 80 to 100 alerts a day. The students were vaping in the bathroom, and this number has dropped significantly. On Monday, March 9th, there were 4 alerts. Today we had 9, he said. We are far below the average. Board member Heather Jacobs asked Berry what happened when a student is confronted and hides the vape from the SRO. Most of the time they give it up after we present the evidence we have collected, he said. We do have metal detectors, but we haven't been using them yet. Berry said that they then spend time educating students using a national program called Catch My Breath that focuses on education and prevention, not just punishment. Some of the best interactions I have had with students are part of these programs, he said. Berry said that youth nicotine addiction in America is a real problem. He said that packages on vaping products might not disclose how strong the product really is, and students are getting as much nicotine in a few hits on a vape pen than they would get after smoking an entire pack of tobacco cigarettes. The higher dose of nicotine creates more dependence. We talk about milligrams of nicotine, he said. The package may say 15 to 20, but it might be 80 when it's tested. They get so addicted when they are young. Berry also said that there are some families that allow vaping so the students receive mixed messages between home and school. In some households, it's okay to vape. Students could do it at home around their parents, he said. Then they crave it at school and they have anxiety when they can't do it. So I talked to them about the dopamine cycle. Board member Keith Virgin asked Berry what other concerns he has with students. Edibles, Berry said. This is emerging. Some are synthetic and some have horrible effects on the students. They come in many different levels of strength. We used to be able to arrest students when they brought marijuana or edibles to school, but it's harder now that it's decriminalized, and there are dispensaries all over. Virgin said that the school is doing everything it can to educate students and needs the cooperation from parents at home. There is a responsibility across the board, he said. For information about Catch My Breath, visit catch.org/program/vaping-prevention, period. For information on ITAC, It Takes a Community, visit www.itacemw.com. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the East Aurora Advertiser on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. I will be reading an article, Sheriff's Office Reports Finishing Under Budget. Erie County Sheriff John C. Garcia announced that an analysis of the 2025 budget shows the county agency overperformed on revenue expectations and saved on budgeted expenses. Revenues for the next year totaled approximately $6.9 million, $2.3 million over expectations for 2025. The overperformance is largely due to $1.9 million payment from the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. Garcia said this revenue source is associated with the backlog of incarcerated individuals who were unable to be transferred to DOCCS custody in a timely manner due to the state prison strike. DOCCS reimburses counties $100 per day for each state-ready incarcerated individual if they have been held in local custody for more than 10 days after earning state-ready status. While the reimbursement the state is welcome as insufficiently covers the burden associated with our inflated jail census through most of 2025, especially on jail management division personnel who were required to work multiple forced overtime shifts throughout the year, he said. Despite additional expenses associated with incarcerating state-ready individuals for an extended period of time, expenses for the Jail Management Division and Correctional Health Division still came in at $8.5 million under budget. Across all divisions, the Erie County Sheriff's Office came in $4.9 million under budget on its consumable budget expenses. Article, League of Women Voters hosts event honoring women making history. The League of Women Voters of Buffalo Niagara will host a special Women's History Month program titled Women Making History, Then and Now, from 5 to 7:15 p.m. Wednesday, March 25th at the Frank E. Merriweather Junior Library, Dr. Eva Doyle Auditorium, located at 1324 Jefferson Avenue in Buffalo. The event is free and open to the public. The program will begin with a reception and refreshments, followed by a presentation exploring the history of women's rights movement and the ongoing fight for equality. The Speakers Bureau presentation will highlight the contributions of suffragists, as well as Native American, African American, and disability rights advocates who have shaped the struggle for civil rights and democratic participation in the United States. Following the presentation, the event will feature a panel discussion with 3 local leaders whose work continues to advance equity and civic engagement in Western New York. Lisa Coppola, Esquire, managing partner of the Coppola firm and longtime advocate for women in business and leadership. Faustina Sane Palmater, executive director of the Caring Society of Buffalo, who has spent decades supporting refugee and immigrant communities through education, interpretation, and community outreach. And Emily Watkins, an award-winning disabled and neurodivergent ability reporter at Buffalo Toronto Public Media. Watkins covers access, rights, equity, and justice issues affecting people with disabilities, chronic health conditions, and mental health conditions. The panel will be moderated by Lori Robinson, president of the League of Women Voters of Buffalo Niagara. During the event, the League will recognize the panelists as defenders of democracy for their leadership and commitment to advancing justice, equity, and civic participation in the community. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering voters and defending democracy through civic education, advocacy, and community engagement. Article about artist Nancy Hall rediscovering herself after tragedy through faith, family, friends, and art by Stacy Lechevet. Some of us believe that things happen for a reason. Perhaps it's the people that we meet, or an occurrence in our life, or the timing of events. Sometimes things just seem too coincidental to happen just by chance. The famous psychologist Carl Jung referred to meaningful coincidences that seem related by lack, casual connection, as synchronicity. These occurrences served as signs, often sparking personal growth by highlighting connections between inner thoughts and outer events. James Redfield, author of the Celestine Prophecy, centers the idea that coincidences are meaningful events that guide individuals toward their destiny and a higher spiritual consciousness. These occurrences are considered purposeful, helping people move beyond mundane life to discover personal spiritual growth and align with a universal rhythm. The Bible also has perspectives on this, but does not use the modern word synchronicity. Instead, it presents a world governed by God's providence, where seemingly random events or coincidences are orchestrated to fulfill divine purposes. Scripture depicts God as sovereignly arranging circumstances, what some interpret as meaningful coincidences, to guide believers and carry out his will rather than allowing for chance. After my initial meeting with subsequent interview with local artist Nancy Hall, I find myself somewhere at the intersection of these three belief structures. On a recent trip to a local art store, I was approached by a woman in a wheelchair. She told me her name was Nancy Hall and she is a painter. She struck up a comfortable conversation with me about the watercolor I was looking at and painting techniques. Our chat quickly evolved into her asking questions about myself and my art. I told her I recently retired from teaching high school art. She asked if I teach private lessons, and I told her that I do, and we exchanged contact information. We agreed to be in touch soon. She had suggested that I look at her art website. I did, and I was impressed by her painting skill. I knew she would be an interesting interview, but what I didn't know at the time was how impactful and inspiring I would find her story. At a time when the loneliness epidemic is at an all-time high and people are isolated and lost in cyberspace, Nancy Hall, who has been given a whole lot of lemons, sees to it that she will have none of that. She is busy making lemonade. Hall is the proud mother of 5 adult children and grandmother of 3. She told me that in 2000 she'd been having some struggles in her life and her faith. She wrote a letter to God asking for his guidance and wanting whatever it took to bring her back to him and to give protection of her children. 2 weeks later, in May 2000, Hall was in a tragic motorcycle accident. Ironically, she tells me she and her husband had gone to the motorcycle blessing earlier in the day. She can't remember anything about the accident, but she was found hours after the crash in a field. Her neck was broken, and this left her a quadriplegic. Her husband survived with major injuries and recovered. A year later, she and her husband divorced. She gained custody of their 5 children and purchased a home in the village of East Aurora. She credits her family, friends, and faith for helping her over the years. Were you an artist before your accident? Oh no. I did crafts with my kids when they were young, but nothing like this. It was a rough start. I wasn't very good. I was determined to help my kids with homework with a pen or a pencil in my mouth. One of my older sons suggested I try painting and set up watercolors for me to try. Tell me about your art. I started with watercolor, but switched to acrylic. I can cover things with acrylic if I need to, and I like the boldness of the colors, and it's a faster process. I work with an art teacher once a week. My sons help design my easel. It uses magnets to attach things. They also built this beautiful studio that has lots of lights, and it overlooks my gardens. What are your favorite subjects to paint? I love all subjects. Birds, flowers, pictures that I've taken, subjects that tell a story or mean something to me, like a cross or a lone candle. You are a member of the MFPA, Mouth and Foot Painting Artists. What can you tell me about that? In 2003, my friend referred me to it. She encouraged me to join. There was a 1-year wait to get in. It was founded by artists who have lost use of their hands and now paint with their mouth or feet. It's a worldwide organization. I am at a student level. I was awarded a scholarship to help develop my skills and offer support. To move to the next level, which is member, the artist must get juried and approved to move up. It would be great to be a working artist supporting myself through my art. Their slogan is self-help, not charity. I have a turtle painting featured on a coffee tumbler, an animal painting on a tote bag, and a landscape painting featured on a calendar. You seem to have such a positive attitude. Well, we can either choose to be happy despite the circumstances and live in that circumstances, or we can choose not to. My love of Jesus gives me the strength. I had a strong belief in God prior to the accident, but I was struggling. My heart, mind, and spirit are all healed now. They will live eternally. My physical self is just a tent. Hall credits God's amazing grace and her ability to create art as a gift from above, giving her gratitude for her life and encouragement to others. Your faith is so strong. Where do you attend services? Life Church Buffalo, located in West Seneca, and Grace and Community Church in Alden. Community is so important. Also, not being afraid to reach out. Latitude of gratitude, I say. And your community, how did that become so well developed? Well, I love connecting. I love talking to people, and I approached you at the art store. My 5 children are grown and close by, and I have 3 grandchildren who I take on cultural adventures each week. I'm close to my siblings. I host family game nights twice a month and dinners. I host a Bible study, tea parties, lunch dates, and barbecues. I'm not going to be held back. I've gone skydiving twice. I go camping every year. I've gone on road trips and cruises. Yes, connecting with others is very important to me. What's next? Well, I want to keep making my art and sell my art. I want to try new things. I have done public speaking, a commercial for OLV Dentistry, and I've been in short films. Hall starred in her niece's short film titled When Life Gives You Lemons, which took second place at the 48-Hour Film Festival. I must admit, after speaking with Nancy, I couldn't help but reflect on how we choose to spend our time here on Earth. Don't be afraid to connect with others. Believe in something. Find your vibe and your tribe. Make some art and some lemonade. If you're interested in seeing or purchasing Hall's art, or contacting her for a speaking engagement, or just drop a line, you can visit her website at Amazing Grace Artworks, nancyhallpaintings.com, or Instagram at n.hallmouthpainter. You can also visit the Mouth and Foot Painting Artists, MFPAUSA.com. Stacy Lechevette is a local artist, amateur landscape designer, and retired pioneer high school teacher. She has a love of travel and discovering interesting, quirky, and inspiring people, places, and hobbies that spark a smile. Join her as she goes art and about by following her on Instagram at Stacy Lechevette. Questions or suggestions can be sent to eanews@eastaurora.newyork.com. For information and examples of work, you can find Anne Margaret Munley on Instagram at AMMUNLEYART and AMMUNLEY.redbubble.com. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the East Aurora Advertiser on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Article Cold Water Hot Fishery, New York State DEC has a steelhead plan by Forrest Fisher. Every winter and spring along the Lake Erie tributaries, anglers bundle up, tie on a jig, or drift a bead and step into the icy water, hoping for a flash of chrome. That flash is a Lake Erie migratory steelhead or rainbow trout, and according to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation's new 2026 to 2035 Lake Erie Tributary Steelhead Management Plan, those fish continue to fuel one of the region's most important outdoor traditions and our economies. The DEC recently released the science-based plan developed by fisheries biologists at the Lake Erie Fisheries Research Station. The report outlines how the agency will manage tributary steelhead over the next decade using years of data collection and analysis. For anglers in Chautauqua and Erie County, the takeaway is simple. The fishery remains one of the best in the country. But we are not alone. Steelhead fishing in New York's Lake Erie tributaries draws anglers from 24 other states and 2 countries, making the region a destination fishery. During the 2024-2025 steelhead season, anglers logged more than 130,000 hours fishing tributary streams. Break that down a bit and the numbers become even more impressive. If the average trip lasts about 4 hours, that's roughly 32,500 fishing trips spent chasing steelhead in western New York tributaries last season alone. And anglers don't come empty-handed, at least when it comes to spending. A previous economic analysis showed anglers pursuing steelhead in the 2007-2008 season spent $3.2 million in Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, and Erie counties, supporting local bait shops, diners, hotels, and gas stations. Anyone who has watched a line form at a breakfast counter at 6 a.m. during steelhead season knows exactly how real that impact is. Steelhead roam widely throughout the Lake Erie, which means they're a shared resource among the lake's 5 management jurisdictions. Because of that, they're managed cooperatively through the Great Lakes Fishery Commission's Joint Strategic Plan for the Management of Great Lakes Fisheries. In practice, that means each jurisdiction coordinates while still maintaining its own stocking programs and management goals. In New York, Lake Erie watershed steelhead yearlings are stocked in 8 tributaries: Chautauqua, Canadaway, Walnut, Silver, Cattaraugus, 18 Mile, Cayuga, and Buffalo Creeks. Altogether, 142,500 steelheads are stocked annually. The largest share goes to the famed Cattaraugus Creek, which receives 60,000 fish, Chautauqua Creek, 25,000, Canadaway Creek, 10,000, Walnut Creek, 5,000, Silver Creek, 5,000, 18 Mile Creek, 20,000, Cayuga Creek, 5,000, Buffalo Creek, 5,000, Buffalo River, Bison City Rod and Gunfish Pens, 7,500. In addition, 50,000 domestic rainbow trout are stocked in 4 tributaries: Chautauqua Creek, 10,000, Canadaway Creek, 10,000, Cattaraugus Creek, 15,000, 18 Mile Creek, 15,000. Those stocking numbers weren't picked out of a tackle box at random. Biologists originally set targets based on stream size and the amount of public access available to anglers. If hatchery production ever falls short, the DEC has a plan for that too. Cattaraugus Creek would temporarily receive fewer fish until smaller streams are fully stocked. Because the cat stays cold and fishable later into spring and receives plenty of wandering steelhead from other Lake Erie programs, it can absorb the reduction without hurting the overall fishery. The goal of the stocking program is simple. Stocked fish imprint on their home streams, head out into Lake Erie, grow big and strong, and eventually return as adults ready to test anglers' tackle and patience. Speaking of tackle, seasoned steelheaders know the basics: drifting egg sacs, beads, or jigs beneath the float, or bouncing spawn bags along the bottom. A medium light rod, good waders, and a healthy respect for slippery shale banks are also recommended, and maybe a thermos of coffee. The future of the fishery will also benefit from infrastructure upgrades. New York recently announced a $100 million freshwater fish hatchery modernization initiative that will upgrade 12 state hatcheries. The effort includes funding from the state's Clean Water, Clean Air, and Green Jobs Environmental Bond Act, which dedicated up to $75 million towards hatchery improvements. Locally, volunteers are also helping. The Northern Chautauqua Conservation Club is working to construct brand new fish pens in Dunkirk, which will provide another location where young steelhead can acclimate before entering Lake Erie. All of these efforts share a common goal: Keep the silver runs coming. That's because around here, steelhead aren't just fish. They're winter stories, early morning coffee conversations, and occasionally the reason someone calls in sick to work after a good rain. Life is good when the fish are biting. To review the entire report, visit the 2026 to 2035 Management Plan for Lake Erie Tributary Steelhead at this link, dec.ny.gov/sites/default/2026-01/Erie Steelhead MNG Plan.pdf. Article: East Aurora Co-op Market. Shoppers raise over $1,380 for Big Table. The East Aurora Co-op Market recently partnered with Big Table Community Cafe for a Roundup at the Register initiative. From January 1st through February 28th, co-op shoppers had the opportunity to support Big Table's efforts of food access for all by rounding up their total purchase. Thanks to the co-op community's participation, shoppers raised a total of $1,381.21. Big Table Community Cafe is a lunchtime restaurant open to everybody. They are focused on serving nutritious meals while championing healthy local food options, addressing food insecurity, reducing food waste, and supporting the community. At a traditional restaurant, a guest is asked to exchange money for their meal. At Big Table, guests are invited to exchange money, time, or groceries in exchange for their meal. Their pay-as-you-can model strives to promote healthy individuals and communities. The restaurant menu has a suggested donation amount. Some will pay more, some will pay less. Others provide non-financial contributions, include volunteering their time or bringing groceries to help Big Table achieve its mission, while also validating that everybody has a contribution to make. Visit bigbigtable.org to support Big Table's mission. The East Aurora Co-op Market is a community-owned grocery store in the village of East Aurora, featuring local, organic, gluten-free, and seasonal groceries, produce, and craft beer, plus hot and chilled prepared foods. The co-op is entering its 10th year anniversary this June 2026. No membership is required to shop the store. The co-op is open to everyone. The co-op continues to partner with local and regional organizations focused on building a strong community through the Roundup and Register program, donations, and sponsorships. Details are available in store, on the co-op website, eastaurora.coop, and on social media. Article: Chaffee PT Clinic to close doors March 27th. The Western New York Physical and Occupational Therapy Group, LPPC, located at 12399 Olean Road, has announced it will be closing its Chaffee operations this month. The last day for physical therapy appointments will be Friday, March 27th. The Depew and Salamanca clinics will remain open and are taking new patients. Established in 1989, WNYPTOT has served the Tri-County area for more than 35 years. Walter Szymanski, CEO and lead physical therapist, commented this decision was not made lightly. I am deeply grateful for the trust the community has placed in me and my team throughout the years. Patients, when confronted with news of this closing, were deeply disappointed. In a letter to patients, Szymanski stated, "It has been an honor to be part of your recovery and wellness journey. I will always value the relationships built here and the progress we've shared." The clinic will continue to see current patients 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Mondays through Fridays through March 27th. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the March 19th, 2026 issue of the East Aurora Advertiser. We read from the East Aurora Advertiser every Saturday at 10 a.m. Your reader has been Erin. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of the Niagara Gazette. At noon, we have the Dunkirk Observer. And at 1 o'clock, we have some of our Northtown Bees, including Amherst, Clarence, Cheektowaga, Lancaster, and Depew. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Bruce, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from current issues of the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. From Saturday and Sunday, March 21st and 22nd of 2026, one of the top stories, deal taking shape for South End projects. Mayor says mediation could clear path for Centennial Park and data center. Article by Rick Pfeiffer. Mayor Robert Restino said Friday that he believes the city has reached the broad outline of a deal that would allow two major development projects to move forward. The mayor said it appears that court-ordered mediation will resolve a snarl of lawsuits between the city and Niagara Falls redevelopment. and some of its affiliated companies. The result of the resolution of those legal proceedings would allow the proposed Centennial Park project and a massive data center development to move forward. The big issue.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes